Listen up, people. Manscaped have done it again. This time, it's the Chairman Pro, giving you a clean, close shave. The Chairman Pro is waterproof. The Chairman Pro has long-lasting battery life. And you use the code FTM20 and you will get 20% off of this product. Yes, big up, people. Hope you are doing well. It's nearly the weekend and it can't be ruined this weekend because Arsenal aren't playing. So please enjoy it. Make sure you do me a favor. Hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. It's another Gooner to Gooner. 12th man is back and it is one of my favorite Gooners. It's Curtis Shaw from Curtis Shaw TV. Make sure you're showing some love to Curtis. If you've not got him up to 100k yet, he must be very, very close. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. He's doing shows pretty much daily as well. Curtis, how you feeling, my bro, as a Gooner right now?
Oh, but you know what, bro? I'm relaxed right now, you know. It makes me realise how much stress Arsenal bring onto my life. Like, usually I hate the international break because you don't really want to watch them games. But to be honest, I'm taking the time out. I'm relaxing and just, you know, getting ready because I think this is the last break until March. So all over Christmas, New Year, going into the start of spring, it's just going to be every week. So I feel quite good at the moment. I'll be honest. I feel quite Arsenal free, no stress, you know. So I'm good right now.
Facts. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. And I honestly also have a weekend plan, which is a chill weekend. No more nerves, no more drama, no more having to have lots of people coming at you when you say you're not happy about the way we play. It just seems like an absolute madness in the fan base at the moment. And what's a shame is actually rolling back some of the years. This reminds me of some of the old Wenger in and out days at the moment. Like, there's a lot of Arteta in people over the years that are now starting to question him, manager. And I don't like that, you know, because that's been not needed to happen for quite some time. And some are saying that it doesn't need to be happening now. But before we touch on some of the rumours today, there's rumours on Edu, the replacements of Edu, there's rumours on transfers. And also we're going to talk about injury news to Ben White and other concerns. The Chelsea game was the last time that we spoke in terms of looking up to that game, Curtis. And you and I were kind of like must-win game, must stay in this title race, to do our best to. I've got to be really honest with you, bro. I was at the game. And people were telling me that Chelsea and Inter Milan were much better performances, but I kind of feel like we've lowered our standards so low this season that is actually a good performance now, it seems. Look, I've got to be real with you. I actually don't believe that looking up and looking behind us is really the drama at the moment. I don't look at points behind people, points in front of people. I look at the performances and I actually am not happy at the moment. I don't think they're good to watch. I don't think we are in a position where we can be getting hyped by results like that. We've taken 1 point in the last 2 and people think it's good and it's better. It's not good, mate. It ain't. And the way we're playing is not great. Glimpses of it. Yep, I agree with that. And potentially it's coming back. But let's be real, man. I don't like the way Arsenal are playing this season. I don't think it's improving to a massive degree. And I think we need to go up a ridiculous level if we're even going to contemplate winning this Premier League. But what have you made of it in the last week or so, bruv?
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I did the Chelsea watch along, and I was disappointed at the end of the game. At the end of the day, we were winning. You know, again, I was looking at it the other day. You know, Brighton, we were winning. Manchester City, we were winning. Liverpool, we were winning. Chelsea, were winning. That's 4 games from winning situations where we've ended up conceding and drawing. Obviously, Brighton and Man City were red card related, you could say. But no, listen, I don't think Chelsea played that great, if I'm being honest. I thought Cole Palmer had a quiet game. Jackson was non-existent. Neto was lively, scored a good goal. And I thought Chelsea were there for the taking, to be honest. Once again, we get in situations where we're winning by 1 goal and we don't go and get the second goal and finish a game off. And you're always susceptible then to conceding and dropping points. So I think, like you said, the standards have been so low over the last few weeks with these, you know, defeats to Newcastle and Bournemouth that we're clutching to any little bit of positivity that we do in a game now as, you know, oh, that was a better performance. But the reality is we're in a title race. If we were trying to get top 4, you might be able to get away with that. But when you're competing with a Liverpool that is rampaging at the moment and a Man City that, I mean, people are laughing at Man City online but they're still ahead of us. Do you know what I mean? We haven't even. I'm not laughing at Man City when they lose. I'm actually more frustrated because I'm like, we should be ahead of them. We should be points ahead of them. We're actually playing catch up with an out of form Manchester City, which is crazy. So imagine if they do hit form. So for me, it's frustrating, and I think there's a multiple amount of reasons why we're in this situation. I think we all go back to that transfer window. I think it was poor. We said it at the time, and it's come to fruition. I think everything has to fall back on the owners. I know some people don't like that conversation, and people think, they've invested a lot of money in this manager, but investing a lot of money into a football club doesn't mean you're a good ownership. Man United have spent an absolute fortune to be nowhere in the last 5 years, but it's about hiring the right people to deal with that money and having the right manager and making sure the infrastructure is correct. And I just don't see it at Arsenal. We've said it a number of times. We've got an ownership that have never won in a football club, really, outside of an FA Cup. We got a sporting director that's spun us a load of PR for 5 years and then done a runner when his wages got tripled. And then you've got a manager that, had never managed before. So I feel like the whole structure, unfortunately, has fallen short this season. And it kind of feels like the season's fizzling out a little bit. It kind of feels like maybe the 21-22 season, was it, where we finished fifth. Kind of feels like that way. We might end up for, getting maybe a top 4 finish and nicking a Carabao or an FA Cup. So it feels like we've gone backwards. And I think, when you look at Liverpool's trajectory, how they caught Manchester City, every year it felt like they were making improvements until they had that big season where they got Van Dijk and Alisson, they got ahead of them. And I always think last summer for us, when we got Declan Rice, Havertz was supposed to be that other, the Alisson Van Dijk piece, where I feel like Rice was brilliant. Havertz, not so much. He finished the season well, but you can see this season that we're still desperate for a striker. So I know I've gone off topic a bit there, but yeah, just in terms of the Chelsea game, bro, for me, listen, it was a slightly better performance, but if you're trying to win a league, I don't think that was enough. And when you look at the Bournemouth and Newcastle game, I think that put more pressure on that game. So I think we dropped 2 points again. I think we needed to beat them. I think we should have. So I was disappointed by the end of it.
Yeah, I was. And it's hard because there's a lot of people around me telling me that actually things aren't that bad and that we were better and that it was a good performance. And I don't know that it was. I think that a good performance is when we go and blitz Chelsea 5-0 at the Emirates. That's a good performance, and that was only last season. A good performance for me is not drawing 1-1 at the Stamford Bridge and losing at the San Siro. That is not a good performance for me. I don't look at that. And I have worries about our European away form. 4 games, haven't scored a goal in any of those 4 games, lost the majority of them. I think we've only taken a point from Atalanta. All of the others we've lost in the last 4. That's not good, Curtis. And I look at the way we're playing right now, and I wanted to ask you a question. What is our style of play now? Because if we believe that 5 years and £700 million deep is to smash the ball in the box and hope one of us heads it in, tap me out of it, man, because I ain't here for that, bruv. Why have we gone to this style of play, which is so much more rigid and lacks fluidity and creativity? We've got players like Saka and Ødegaard back in the side, Martinelli, who I'm sure we'll mention. We've got Kai Havertz, who can link up this play. We've got players like Declan Rice, who's good on the ball. We've got Partey, who's been fantastic. Why is it now that we're seeing us just everyone get your head on it, just line up, and just one of you get your bonts on it? Because that's what it looks like to me now. It don't look good, bruv. It don't look good. People might think that's harsh when I say that, but that's what I've been watching for the last 11 games, bruv.
I mean, you know what? I had that argument online anyone who follows me or you on Twitter. Twitter is a wild place. It's a very toxic, wild place. And after that Inter Milan game, I'm like, boy, man, is that it? And, 46 crosses. I said, are we Stoke City or something? But there were people online coming back at me, we dominated the game. We had so many crosses. So I'm like, they scored and then defended. They were comfortable with it, You don't mind that football if it's successful. Let's be honest. George Graham was 1-0 to the Arsenal. So, if we were winning top of the league, I'll go, well, I don't like the football, but look where it's getting us. If you're actually struggling and playing that kind of football, it kind of doesn't make sense. I would rather you actually played entertaining football and it didn't work, at least you were trying to do something. At least the fans would be entertained. I don't even think we're built for the way we're playing. You know, if we had like Niall Quinn and Jan Collar up front from back in the day, I go, okay, whip crosses in. We got two giants up there. Or if they got Sesko in the summer, who's 6'5". Havertz is not amazing in the air. He's not bad. Like if he gets an unmarked header or his movement's quite good. Saka and Martinelli at the back post are not no menaces in the air. So who are we crossing the ball to? Like I don't understand what's happened with him. I felt 2 seasons ago, I think we were the best team in the country in terms of entertainment. We collapsed at the end. I think last season he tried to balance it a little bit by getting Rice, making us a bit more solid. And I thought the balance was great last year. And I said in the summer, Arteta doesn't need to change the style. You found the style. You've just got to improve the quality of player within that style. So get a better striker than Havertz, maybe get another left winger, which obviously he wanted with Nico Williams. But I feel like he's doubled down too much. It's like he wants us to be this defensive, monstrous machine that goes 1-0 up and then protects the lead. And as I said there, we've been ahead in 4 games this season and threw the lead away. So whatever he's trying to do, it's not working. And I'm kind of wondering why he's sticking with it. Now, one of the things that I think is causing us a problem is the midfield.
Yeah,
I actually think last season, I mean, Declan Rice got in Team of the Year last season, and 3/4 of that season, he didn't have Thomas Partey next to him. Now, he finished the season quite strong with Partey back in the team, but I think Partey and Rice actually, it needed to be one or the other rather than both of them, in my opinion. Now, that's a very hard situation because Partey's probably been our best midfielder this season. So how do you drop him? Declan Rice costs 105 million. How do you drop him? The problem was the Marino transfer, because if you'd signed a top quality number 8, you could have then picked one of them, had the great number 8. Odegaard's in there as well. There's your midfield. Sometimes the best 2 players don't necessarily have the best balance in a team. I remember seeing on a Man City documentary, Vincent Kompany was saying how him and Jerome Boateng, he was saying Jerome Boateng is this amazing centre-back, but they didn't work well together. They replaced Boateng with Lescott from Everton, who looked like, you know, Boateng's playing in World Cups, Lescott's at Everton. But that balance was so much better. They ended up winning the league with those two. And I just think forcing Rice into the 8 role doesn't work. I don't think he works in the 8. He's not a big goal threat. His passing doesn't open up the back 4. You know, I would rather him in front of the back 4 protecting. You know, I look at that Neto goal the other day, and I think that's the kind of area where Rice would have actually maybe blocked that shot or tackled Neto, but we didn't have no one there. So I think he's got to make a decision with those two and say, you could play them in a difficult away game where you're doubling down and it's Man City away and you want both of them. But can you play Declan Rice and Thomas Partey in games where you want to dominate the ball and score goals? Because I just don't think you're getting the best out of Rice. And I don't think that number 8 role suits him. So for me there, I think he's got a decision to make. And then do you now just say, look, Moreno is our number 8. We're all a little bit unsure of how good he is or what he offers, but I think you might have to give him a run of games and kind of figure out what he is, because Partey's contract's up in the summer anyway, whether they keep him or not. So I think he's got to adapt that midfield. I mean, I'm not sure about Marino at the moment, but I think you really need to give him a run of games. And then I think because we're playing so defensive-minded, it's almost holding back the 2 wide players as well, because you want Saka to be the Saka that you saw the week before at Liverpool, where he's high up the pitch, he's ripping up Robertson, he's in goal-scoring situations, but then at Stamford Bridge, he's on the halfway line. He's got 40, 50 yards to get to the goal. So I think Arteta's just got to change the dynamics and get us, you know, playing on the front foot a bit more. I think we're built to attack. And I think when you've got a solid back 4, a good goalkeeper and a good defensive midfielder, that should allow the rest of the team to be a little bit more attacking. So I think he's got to take the shackles off the team a little bit and say, listen, we are under pressure. We know that, but you guys have got to start enjoying your football. I actually don't think this team is even enjoying playing football at the moment. I don't see Saka smiling. I just think the team are being weighed down by the system and the pressure and the results. So we've got a home game against Forest. I think you've got to have a go at them. You can't sit back and try and nick games 1-0. So, yeah. Do you know what? I'm rambling on today, but it's a frustrating situation for us at the moment. I think it's one that can be turned around, but it's whether is he going to be stubborn and stick with that same system, or, is he going to continue?
Well, that's a nice segue into what I wanted to ask you about Mikel Arteta at the moment.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of style of plays, Curtis, if I'm honest, in his 5 years. If you remember when let's go right back to before anything had happened, we were going into the FA Cup run where we ended up winning it with Tierney and David Luiz smashing the ball up to Aubameyang for him to run onto. That was the first style of play we had. And then when we started to change things, we started to a little bit static and it weren't quite working. And a lot of people said it was the players. So we come 8th again. And then we started to play a little bit more attractive. If you remember Smith Rowe and Martinelli and Saka coming onto the scene in that Chelsea game, we weren't quite at it, but we at least started to try to look a little bit more like giving it a go. And we ended up losing to Conte's Spurs in the end and coming 5th. And then all of a sudden, the shackles were off. We bought Gabriel Jesus Zinchenko. We thought maybe that can get us top 4. We saw ourselves in a title race. Now, you look at that style of play, that is the best style of football Arteta's played. It's scintillating. It was scary. Everybody was doing shows about how great we looked and wow, it's come out of nowhere. Who saw this Arsenal team coming? They've arrived. And I think that season, when we got to around about Anfield, West Ham, Southampton, he then thought, wow, we can't keep playing like this. We've run out of steam. We're going to have to completely change it next year. And last season, if you remember, we were rigid. We didn't have any fluidity and we were all confused about why Havertz was brought in to play the 8. And the style of play just completely gone. And everyone was crying out more, saying, look, we're getting results, but this ain't sustainable. Like, we ain't going to be able to win the league playing like this. And then we went to Dubai and then we come back and we were boom, 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 boom. And it was like 5-0, 6-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. And everyone thought, that's it. Arsenal were going to go and do it. And then we fell short again. Now, I've got kind of 2 questions, really. The first question is, why so many clusters of results? Why can't we just have one loss and then bounce back and win? Why do we have to have 2 or 3 in a row? That's my first question with Arteta. The second one is, don't do 16 things and get halfway through and change it. Just do one thing and complete it first. Because actually, when you look at that scintillating, beautiful, attractive football we played, all we needed to do was add some components. We didn't need to screw it up, throw it away and start saying different. We just needed to go, right, we want Rice, we want Havertz, we want Timber, we want Raya. We still really need a number 9, but we can worry about that next year. Let's put them and implement them in, and let's see what we do going by this style of football again. But it seems now this guy is overthinking so much. He's overly cautious to concede goals, but actually what he's done in turn is allow us to concede more goals by trying to be so worried about it. You know, when you think about it so much, you end up thinking about nothing else. You end up conceding anyway. That's what he's kind of doing. You're right in the midfield. And I hate to be the negative one and say this, right? But I'm looking at each department thinking he ain't completed any department yet because we still need a striker. There's worries about Ødegaard being out where we go there. There's still no number 8. He doesn't know what number 6 to play, but he's one of our 6s in the 8, the other one at right back. Then we've got a right back playing left back. We've basically completed a centre-half pairing in 5 years. That's it. That's not good enough, Curtis. So I've chucked loads at you there. I don't know how you're going to dissect that, but you know what I'm going down. It's not
I know
good
what you do. Do you know what I think? I think a lot of Arteta's problems comes down to inexperience. I think when you've been there and done it, and you know that something works, I think you can stick by your principles. So I think a Pep or I'm thinking back to like a Mourinho or a Wenger or Ferguson, whoever. I think when you've got a solid system and a style and it's led you to success, even when you're having times of difficulty, you think, this is just a bad patch, but I know this system works. This formula works. I think with Arteta, because he's not been a manager before, you've also got to remember he's got very inexperienced coaching staff around him after getting rid of Steve Round last season. I think he's almost second-guessing himself. You can see that Arteta's a thinker. He's a very intelligent man. Spoken to people at Arsenal when we've been on tour, and they say he's a workaholic. He's got diagrams all over the walls. He's obsessed with the game. You can tell he's a thinker. But I think he's overthinking at times and thinking, well, that didn't work. Like you said, screws up the paper, throw that in the bin, go again. Let's create a whole new system that no one expects and, you know, try and surprise Pep and all that. I don't think you need to do that. Jurgen Klopp was chasing Pep he had the system and the formula. We knew that rock and roll, high press football, the front line was sorted. All he needed was the better centre-back, the better goalkeeper, and he got that, and they went and they won. They won the Champions League, they won the FA Cup, League Cup, they won everything. I think with this manager, you had the formula. The formula was there. The football was top quality. All you needed was to improve the personnel, get an upgrade on Xhaka when he left in that midfield. Obviously, he tried that with Havertz. It didn't work. He pushed him up front. I think one of the things that went wrong for Arsenal last season was Arteta got caught up in a purple patch for Kai Havertz last season, in my opinion. Havertz had a very good second half of the season. And even again, harping on the tour, there was a lot of the people from Arsenal were speaking. They're going, what do you think we need? I said, you've got to get a striker. They were like, yeah, but look at Kai Havertz's form. If he can do that in half a season, imagine what he can do in a whole season. I went, I don't know if he's going to do that. You know, you look at the big games, he wasn't really scoring in the Champions League knockouts. And they put all their eggs in this basket that Havertz's going to score 20 goals this year. Yeah, he's, you know, if he scored 13 in half a season, he'll get 20 in a full season. I think they made a massive, massive mistake doing that. And they've missed out on Osimhen. They've missed out on Tony. There's now 4 or 5 big clubs chasing Gyökeres. So you may be in a situation where when you go back into the striker market, there ain't as much players available there. And I think they made a big mistake with that. So, and again, just going back to what you're saying, that's why I think Arteta changes so many times throughout the season, because once he hits a bad patch, he's like, I need to do something different. I need to change it. I'm going to play with 2 false nines. You know, the other week he had Trossard and Havertz false 9, but we got no one up front. I'm like, what the hell's this? Left backs inverting and sixers dropping in. And if you look at that goal against Chelsea the other day, Thomas Partey was in defence. He was at centre-back. And I'm like, what the hell's got... Where's our defensive midfielder? And I just think he second-guesses and questions himself too much. And I always think if you have an inexperienced manager, you need experienced people around him to try and help him, give him advice. And I think, again, you look at it, he's got a lot of people around him who don't have that experience, who probably aren't going to question him too much. So you even look at it with Wenger, you know, he was a much better manager with Pat Rice, who apparently... Those two used to argue a lot than when he had people like Steve Bold, who was just sitting there to just say, oh, I'm the assistant manager. He ain't going to say nothing to Wenger. So I think he needs to believe in his philosophy a lot more, take the shackles off the team and allow them to play on the front foot and kind of say, look, I've tried to double down defensively. It hasn't worked. We've given up points. Let's try and be attacking, play on the front foot, let this team play. Odegaard's back and see where it takes us. And, yeah, that's what I would do. But and again, he's got, like you said, he's got to try and find that balance in the team, especially in midfield as well.
Massively. And I look at what Slot's done at Liverpool. Now, it's a completely different scenario because he was left with a Jurgen Klopp side, which was, let's be real, already going for a title. Mikel Arteta was left with a side that was just about good enough for top 4. Yeah. But he's so calm, Slot. On the sidelines, he's come in, he's chilled. Liverpool going about their business in a calm way. They don't look erratic. It doesn't look like raw or rash or you know, rush of blood to the head style. It just looks good and like they're just getting across the line. Not scintillating, not like, wow, they look unbeatable, they look invincible, nothing like that. I feel like with Arteta, he looks stressed as hell on the sideline. You know, he's rolling around on the floor at the end of Stamford Bridge. He's doing all this like, all the time. Let's just calm down. We don't need all this because that worries the players. Sorry, that just frustrates. I've played the game. You've played the game to a much higher level than me. If my manager's doing that, I'm like, what is it you want us to do then, man? Because I am confused. Like, sit and just keep it calm and tell us what you want us to do because everybody's looking at you thinking, you're a madman. Do you know what I'm saying? This is what I've said about doing 16 things half right, but not completing one thing. I want to see a style of play that he's completed throughout a whole of the season. And I have nothing against adapting against certain teams. So if you go and play the way that we did against Aston Villa and Spurs away, calm. But make sure that at home you're going and blitzing the Bournemouths and the Leicesters and the Southamptons and the Ipswich Towns, and don't play the way that we have been against them as well. Because when I'm seeing us against Bournemouth playing us the way that we are, Newcastle, what was that? Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Trossard and Havertz together, both, none of them playing up top. What is going on here? So I feel like there's a lot of problems at the moment. And I do feel something you've said, which is what is going to move me on nicely to my next point. he needs someone next to him that isn't his mate and isn't a yes man. He needs somebody next to him with a wealth of experience that says, listen, man, you've got an unbelievable opportunity to be a quality coach. But you're going to have to listen to me here because you've got all this wrong here. This is what you need. These are the style of players you want. This is what we need right now to complete this department. You clearly need a striker. Let's get this one. He's going to complement Havertz, not replace him or upgrade on him. Do you know what I mean? He needs that next to him, not this Thomas Rosicky or Per Mertesacker waltzing in going, right, Mikel, brilliant to see you again. You're a great player. Remember those days we used to play together? How can I help you? What do you want to do next? I don't want that crap. I want an experienced head that's coming in that says, right, you've got a great group of lads here. I've won stuff at Bayern Munich, or I've won stuff at Valencia. I've won stuff at wherever it be. Let's come and win stuff here. This is how we're going to do it. And look, I know you want to go down that road. That ain't going to work, Mikel. We've already tried that. Yeah, this is now the route to do it. He needs that, and he hasn't got anyone there. He's got Kroenke's owners that just go, yes, Mikel, you're brilliant. Yep, you're going to be our Sean McVay. He's got owners, you've got board members who are alongside him going, just let us know you want us to try and get Mikel, and we'll try and get him for you. Yeah, okay, that sounds great. Yeah, Marino, never seen him play, but let's get him if you want him. Let's do it. All this crap, this needs to stop. I've seen about 17 goalkeepers, about 15 left backs. I'm still trying to replace a number 9 and a number 8. I've seen no one come in for Aubameyang yet. Seen no one come in to replace Xhaka yet. There's a lot to do here, and we're trying to go for a title. And I think some people have actually overrated our squad, if I'm honest. I think some of them have. I look at Liverpool's squad, it's actually better than Arsenal's. I look at Manchester City's, and although it's aging, it's better than Arsenal's. I think we actually do have the third best squad in the league right now. And I don't know if that's just been tweaked because, Klopp was basically trying to get the last bit out of this team. But actually, you look at Liverpool, they've got 4 world-class players that walk into this Arsenal side, and then you can debate the rest. Like, let's be real, Alisson, Trent, Salah and Van Dijk walk into any team in the world pretty much. We haven't got 4 players just like that walk into every team. We can debate whether Ødegaard, Saliba and Saka do. We can have a conversation about Rice if you want, but let's be real. That's about it. The whole left-hand side is a little bit muddled and we still don't have a 9. We've not got the balance in our midfield right. And I actually agree with you. I put something on Twitter a couple of days ago and I said, what has been the biggest letdown so far? Everybody went with attack. I actually think our midfielders let us down more than our attack. Because I think the reason our attack's been so poor is because our midfield has not been balanced in transition and it hasn't looked at any creativity whatsoever. And I think that if we're feeding players like Havertz, Saka and Martinelli and Trossard more, then actually you look at our attack and think, actually, it's not our attack that's the problem. Our midfield can't do anything at the moment. We're getting our attackers to launch it in the box to some of our midfielders. That is not a style of play. That is what you do in the last 10, 15 minutes, Curtis, when you're losing a game, not from minute 1 to 90. So there's a lot I'm kind of losing understanding in the moment, confusion. I'm kind of losing a little bit of interest in Arsenal at the moment as well, just because of the way that we're playing. It's not exciting to watch at the right now. I'm not going to games thinking, buzzing, Chelsea. I stood with Kenny Ken and my dad at the weekend and we were both looking at each other going, I should be more excited about this game, but I'm not. This is like a bit of a meh, like Chelsea and Arsenal used to be, Didier Drogba versus Henry, and we used to have SCN and like play at Lampard in the middle with Vieira. It's not like that anymore. We look at it and we just think, even combined 11s, the preview before, who are we picking up front, guys? Havertz or Jackson? Well, come on, man. Get in the bin. We used to be talking about Henry and Drogba. Do you know what I mean? Who to pick from? Like, this is the problem we've got. It's gone so down. So it needs to be boosted back up again. And I think you're right. He needs to take the shackles off. But I wanted to talk to you about some of these replacements for Edu, because I don't know much about your thoughts on this. But there's a reports from Sammy Mokbel today, or yesterday actually, talking about the Bayer Leverkusen managing director Simon Rolfs as being a potential on the radar, and also the Real Sociedad director of football Roberto Alabi. I don't know enough about them, if I'm honest with you, but I know that obviously the players they've had and the way they're run have definitely been improving. There's also a lot of talk about Rosicky and Per Mertesacker coming in, which I'm totally against, if I'm honest with you, about being too harsh. And then CEO Thiago Scuro. I don't know much about either of these people. I just want someone to come in with the experience, if I'm honest with you, Curtis. So what are you telling me?
I mean, I did some that Alabi is, yes, big up Matisse, man.
We're supposed to do a show today on Matisse channel. Tobes, no idea what he's doing. All right, me, Tobes, Matisse, and Lawless used to do this London Club's Carnage on Matisse's channel, which was quality show, right? Absolute big up show. Everyone loved it. Supposed to do one today, but he's ducking. He's ducking the smoke. That's what it is. But big up to Tobe.
He's got that Ipswich hang. He's got that Ipswich hangover around him, man.
He's come and played their bloody field.
He don't want to play now, man. He don't want to play now. The tractor boys dealt with him and that. He said, "No, I'm good." No, big up Matisse.
Big up Matisse, man. Big up, bro. Big up.
Well, do you know what? I've lost my thought there. Oh, yeah, you was on about the sporting director.
Sporting
So
director
Alabi, from what I've seen of him and read about him, it's very clicky again with Arteta. That's my only. I mean,
Right.
apparently he signed Arteta. He was there at Sociedad years ago. Big up Max as well.
Big up to Max, bro.
And he obviously, Arsenal have done a lot of business with Sociedad in the last few years. Tierney's gone there on loan with San Marino. Odegaard was there, obviously, when we got him from Real Madrid. They might try and use him to get Isak because obviously he sold him to Newcastle. But apparently, from what I've been reading, the Sociedad fans have kind of turned on him because they're losing their best players. He hasn't been able to get them to sign contracts. Marino, Zubimendi's on his way. They never really replaced Isak well, so he doesn't sound that positive. The guy at Leverkusen is obviously very highly rated because, you know, they've won the league. He got Alonso and, you know, all these players, Florian Wirtz and all of them. So, to be honest, I don't know too much about the guy at Leverkusen, but from what I've read, he's quite highly rated. Listen, for me, I always say with Arsenal now, stop looking for shortcuts. Arsenal, to me, always try and outsmart the market when it comes to things. It's like when you want a striker, get the very best striker that you can afford. And we've been doing this for a long time. You know, you think back to Luis Suarez when Van Persie left. We should have paid 50 million and got Suarez. We offered 40 million and a pound. Then we ended up signing Podolski, Giroud, Lucas Perez, Danny Welbeck, every other striker until we found Aubameyang about 7 years later. I don't want no half-hearted, half-decent sporting director. Get the very best that's available on the market. And the thing that worries me is the Athletic saying, you know, Arteta's going to have a big say in who they bring in. Let's be totally honest. If you're in Arteta's situation and you're in a lot of power, a lot of control, are you going to bring in an assistant manager that you don't have some sort of connection with that's going to put you under pressure? And are you going to bring in a sporting director that might start questioning the job you're doing because his reputation's on the line? In reality, you're not going to. If you're in your job and you're chilling in your office and you're like, yo, owner never comes and checks on me. I get away with just chilling. I have an extra long lunch break. I'm not going to bring in someone that's going to put me under pressure. I'm enjoying my job. So is Arteta going to go and get a top quality sporting director that he doesn't have a relationship with that's going to go back to the Kroenkes and go, actually, bro, you've just hired me to do this job, but your manager ain't doing his job properly. I told him he needs a striker. He's just told me, no, I'm going to stick with Kai Havertz. That's going to create friction in the dressing room and in the boardroom. So to me, I expect somebody to be brought in who Mikel Arteta's got a relationship with, whether that's somebody he's worked with back in the day or an ex-player or somebody like that. So I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, we're going to get our own Michael Edwards at Liverpool or, you know, Bergenstein, who's obviously just left or leaving Man City. I think it will be somebody that gets on with Mikel Arteta, that they're friends. And so, yeah, I'm not pinning my hopes on some world beater sporting director coming in unless Arteta's good friends with him. Jobs for the boys, as they say, man. This is what it is. Mertesacker, Arteta. You know what I mean? It was Jack Wilshere and Edu. It was all like a reunion. So I'm not holding my breath when it comes to that sporting director. Hopefully they bring somebody good in, but wouldn't surprise me if it's another jobs for the boys kind of appointment.
Yeah. And that's my worry, is that it isn't going to be someone who's going to have a direction. It's going to be someone who's going to come in as a yes man and say, right, Mikel, what do you need me to do? You steer the ship. And that's not what I want to be seeing, man. Listen, people, there's almost 1,000 of you in here. Please make sure you hit the like button. Please make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you're following Curtis Shaw TV as well. And make sure you're also checking out manscaped.com. There are sponsors for the channel. Please make sure you go over there. 20% off for Christmas on products, people. FTM20. It's all the code you got to use. And you can get 20% off of shavers, beard trimmers, or if you do groom down below the belt, then make sure that you do go check out manscaped.com, because that's the place it's supposed to be. So
that's a good advert, by the way. You know, I'm telling you, you might have an acting career there, you know.
Oh, yeah. I preferred my other one, I've got to say, but that one, we'll take it. We'll go with it. That one was a lot more rushed than the other one, but big up.
Okay,
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that, man. I try and do the job properly or not at all. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's
it,
the
man.
way it's got to be. But nah, big up to Manscaped. Show them some love, people. There's a link in the description and in the pinned comment as well that will take you straight to 20% off. So please make sure you click on that one as well. Look, I've got to be honest with you, Curtis. There's a lot of transfer rumors. The reason there's a lot of transfer rumors is because it's the international break, bruv, and they got to have something to talk about. That's genuinely what I believe. But I'm going to chuck some names at you because obviously we've seen today that there's the opportunity for us to be linked again to midfielders and wingers and strikers. But before I chuck some names at you, I don't like to talk about January in November, and the winter transfer window is normally known as just January for Arsenal. We don't seem to do much more, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it could be different this winter? Do you think two questions. Do you think we will, and do you think we have to in January?
I think we have to, and I don't think we will. When I say will, I mean in terms of getting what we need. We might bring somebody in, to be honest, because the squad is a little bit short. But do I think we're going to do what I feel Arsenal need to do? I would say no. Not because they would have done it in the summer, and they're going to make excuses. They're going to say January window, hard window to get players, PSR, and they'll start saying we've got a war chest in the summer. And then that's why they're linking us to some of the names you're going to talk about, because it's a calming down process with Arsenal. What we do basically, we finish the summer feeling underwhelmed. Then we go through the season, we'll win some games, then we'll lose some games, then we get close to January. So they'll start linking us with big names again to calm us down. Then we get to January with hope and optimism, thinking we're going to sign them big names, then we don't sign any of them. And then we're all angry at the end of January again, and then the same thing happens again. They tell us in the summer you're going to go crazy and sign this player and that player, and so on and so forth. And we've been doing it for years. So I don't expect us to have a big January. I just don't see it.
No, I'd love to say I disagree with you.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm
Yeah.
sitting here by the end of January and we've gone crazy. But does anyone really think the Kroenkes are going to drop big money in January?
I mean, look, I have got to be real with you. I think the last few January transfer windows, the only word I can use is disgrace. That's what it is. It's a disgrace. And, you know, we laugh and we joke because otherwise you'd cry. But actually, when you look at the ownership, it's been a shambles. And I understand people will start screaming FFP and PSR. Like rule me out of that stuff. Like, let's just look at the squad and where we're at. We right now are desperate to go into January and do something, mate. And if it isn't a Victor Gyökeres, or we don't try and raise our standards to an Isak or somebody like that, or Marmoush, who's banging them in at Frankfurt, I genuinely think we'll be in trouble. Now, look, I'd love Kvaratskhelia, I'd love Isak, I'd love Frankie de Jong, but they're all summer signings for me, right? That's going to happen in the summer. The only realistic opportunity we have to buy strikers, there's only really two that I see that are realistic. One of them is Gyökeres because he's got a release clause. The other one is Marmoush because, let's be real, he's at Frankfurt killing it, but he'd happily come to Arsenal for the right price. They're the only real two strikers I see right now that are on form, on fire, that would be realistic for us to get. Unless you wanted to try and bring Tony or someone like that back from Saudi, which I just don't think is an option now.
No.
I think for me, there's a real opportunity to look at this January as a huge missed opportunity if we do nothing again. Because last summer we were told it was PSR. The summer before that, let's be real, it was a bit of a shambles. The one before that, I think we bought Jorginho, Trossard, Kivior. And the one before that, we basically give Aubameyang away for free. Like, that's how much of a mess our January transfer windows have been. That our only signings in 5 have been Jorginho, Trossard and Kivior, which, let's be real, probably spent about 50 million tops on those. So I think we need to be realistic as well. We're not going to go and sign somebody for 200 million. We're not going to spend 300 million this transfer window. But I do think that there's clear opportunities for us, and there's clearly a gap in what we need, because Havertz right now is literally it. There is nobody after him. And I believe if you went and bought a winger and a striker, that Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz, Jesus all become squad players. And actually, I'm cool with that. I am actually quite cool with those becoming squad players. And I'm also cool with Martinelli and Havertz starting some games like they do now. This is what a squad's about. You don't have just 11 and then when one of them gets injured, someone else comes in. Like when we went unbeaten, and the last time we won a league, by the way, Kanu and Wiltord played a hell of a lot of games, but they were back up to Henry and Bergkamp. You know,
Yeah.
Reyes, Fabregas, Van Persie, they were all backups to Freddie Ljungberg and Robert Pires. We had Fabregas and I think it was Edu himself on the bench because Gilberto and Vieira were in front of them. This is how it worked back then. Now it's like we've got 12, 13 players, and then some of them sometimes come in and try and do a job, like Tomiyasu if he's fit, or Zinchenko if he's fit, or Sterling, who I wanted to get your thoughts on in a minute. For me, I just look at that summer transfer window now, and I just think it's been a huge letdown. And I think that it's quite justifiable as to why people like myself, you, Turkish Troops, some of the others were going, meh, that's not a winning side. We've got to win anything doing that. And I think back now, Curtis, and I think, why do you think we got so much, not hate, because that's a bit strong, but so much kind of kickback and abuse and fireback saying, what? Sterling's going to be our Saka. Havertz is getting us 25 goals. Just you chill out. Just you wait. Marino's going to be our Chaka. Calafiori's our Maldini. I'm like, you've never seen these guys play, for one. You have no idea what Sterling's going to do because he hasn't had a good game since 2019. You've got Marino. Nobody's watched. I'm sorry. Nobody watched Marino and had him on their list of players they wanted. I'm sorry. Let's just say how it is. And everybody just saw Calafiori and started to hear about him because he had a half-decent Euros. And that half-decent Euros put Italy out in the group stages, by the way. That's how great of a Euro. So let's just be realistic. It was a poor window. If we do nothing again in January and have a very underwhelming window again, I don't know how people can't start putting more pressure on the board and the ownership, not just the manager, bro.
I mean, first of all, hope and belief are two very different things for football fans. And we all hope for the same thing, that we're successful. But whether you believe it or not is a different thing. And people online seem to have this sort of belief that if you're questioning your club, that you're not a proper fan. How dare you go against the club that you support, and how dare you call them out on doing things wrong? That's not how life works. Like, I've been inside football clubs, and I can tell you now, some of the things that I've heard, even at the lower levels that I played, like clubs leaking stories to get fans excited and all kinds of crazy things. Football is the most ruthless sporting business you will ever have anything to do with. It's absolutely brutal. Most of these owners don't give a damn about the fans. They see the fans as customers. It's as simple as that. And when you look at the Kroenkes, I mean, hiding behind PSR, at the end of the day, if you run your football club properly, you can open up those margins so you can spend a lot of money. Now, at the end of the day, they gave away Aubameyang and was high-fiving each other in the documentary. The guy went and won the league title at Barcelona and scored in the Bernabeu for Barcelona, but they was high-fiving each other, celebrating. If you went back through the names, Aaron Ramsey went for nothing. That's a £40 million player. Alexis Sanchez, worst swap deal in history with Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan went for nothing. He won the Italian league last year. The list, you could name 10 to 15 players this club have let go for nothing. You know, Pepe, 72 million, sold him for 3 million. So I think they have to look in the mirror before they start talking about PSR. You hired an amateur like Edu, who gave you stupid results for players, right? You should have sold these players for various amounts of money. Yeah, he got a hat trick, in fact, Aubameyang. So, but then, yeah, the online sort of hate. I always say this, you know, people say sometimes when we call out the club, oh, you're doing it for traction. But the reality is, it would be much easier to just cap for everything that the club's doing. You've seen how that role kind of works online a lot. I'm not saying everyone's doing it in a fake manner, because some people genuinely believe it, but I believe there are people who have sort of chosen a tactic and said, I'm going to back everything the club says. Every kit that comes out's beautiful. Every player's an amazing player, and they've watched him for 4 years, even though they probably never heard of him 3 months ago. And they're playing a game to protect themselves. I always say this, it's actually more difficult to do what we're doing and sit online and go, actually, I'm an Arsenal fan. I followed them for over 25 years, but I don't agree with what that owner's doing. Or I don't think that player is as good as everybody else thinks he is. Because, and you made a great point earlier that I think a lot of fans have overrated certain players. And when they haven't delivered what we expected, we're looking at them as a letdown, like, oh, damn. Now, this is what I was saying about hope and belief. it's great to support your own players, and it's great to back them and try and uplift them, but also be honest and realistic about where they are. Because if you build somebody up and put them on a pedestal, then they can't produce. It's like, oh, are they as good as you thought or not? Because you go online, people will tell you our team's amazing, our manager's generational. People, I've seen people say Arteta's generational. So I'm like, if this team's as good as you think, and this manager's as good as you think, where's the success? Where's the silverware? I don't know if you watched the overlap the other day. Like, Roy Keane had Ian Wright stuttering. He said, for all this Arsenal talk about how good you are, you ain't won anything. You've won an FA Cup 5 years ago. Man United just won an FA Cup, League Cup, and sacked the manager. Like, where's the success? Where's the
what I love about that? Like, sorry to cut you.
No, go on, bro.
This is exactly. I wanted to bring this up with you because I knew you'd have watched it. By far, the best pundit, Roy Keane. By far, he says it how it is. He does not ever. You never listen to Roy Keane and think he's talking waffle there. He don't believe what he's saying. He just says it how it is for me. I could listen to him because he just says, and what I love about him, it doesn't matter whether it's Man United, Liverpool, Newcastle, Arsenal, West Ham. He keeps it consistent. Gary Neville, as much as I think he's a good pundit, is absolutely blindsided when it comes to Man United. Absolutely blindsided when it comes to, I see a vision, understand a plan, and I get all this. There's no plan at Man United. It hasn't been for a decade. What's he talking about? Whereas Roy Keane will say it. He's like, yeah, Man United, absolute disgraceful. What's going on there? Arsenal, yeah, look a good team, but what they won ain't won nothing. And then there's so many people that would have been rattled by what Roy Keane said. And Ian Wright is my hero, by the way. I absolutely love him. He didn't know what to say. He's like, yeah, well, we're coming close. And he says, rule me out this close stuff. I loved that. Yeah, I got close to a girl once in a bar. I loved that. I was like, yeah. That is so true, man. Like, let's be real.
Brilliant.
They're all so positive. Like, he just says it how it was. And Gary Neville and Ian Wright were like, you're right. I can't say anything. And I just thought it was class, man. Sorry. Go on.
Bro, but listen, and again, and this ain't I'm not even saying all this to call people out because, listen, everybody's trying to be successful in what they do. So do whatever you need to do to look after yourself. But we know certain situations. Gary Neville is having meetings with the ownership of Man United talking about the development of the new stadium. He's a massive business owner in Manchester. He owns hotels. He's got a football club up there. He's involved with them. You go on the Arsenal tour, Ian Wright's on tour holding up the new shirt. He works for Adidas, who work with Arsenal. So we went to LA. Ian Wright had a show over there with Arsenal. The new away shirt was brought out, the new black shirt that we've got. Ian Wright was working with Adidas. It's all, if you're working for somebody, are you going to publicly call them out?
100%.
So sometimes the thing that I loved about Ian Wright so much growing up as a player was not just him as a footballer. It was his character. He said what it was. He called people out, the passion. So when I see Wrighty sometimes on these shows, I think, boy, man, Wrighty, man, I get it. Like, I know you got to get paid and I respect it, but come on, like, there's a lot of people who look up to you as a former hero of the football club. You've got to be honest without going overboard and, damaging your own pocket. Roy Keane as a player, I absolutely could not stand that guy. Not because I didn't respect him, but because of the rivalry with Arsenal and Vieira. As a pundit, I'm like, this guy, mate, is just like you said, he just says whatever he thinks, and people get offended by him because of his approach. But actually, he'll tell you exactly what it is. And I think sometimes with Arsenal, I always say with Arsenal fans, whether you're the biggest Arteta fan in the world or you're the biggest Arteta out, every Arsenal fan should want the same result. And that's the success of the football club. Now, what we have to try and do is figure out as a fan base, how can we best put the club under pressure to deliver that best result? So Arsenal lose a game, somebody like you or me or somebody else will put a tweet out saying, oh, that performance was rubbish, or this manager's job should be under pressure. And you'll get all these responses from all these guys going, you're this and you're that and you're that. I'm like, brother, why don't you put that energy into the fact that the team you support have just lost? What about the Kroenkes? Why are you mad at me? Go crazy about Stan Kroenke not buying, the right players, but the energy's in the wrong direction. And then you get people going, oh, but what can the fans do about the football club? Well, they were going to go in the Super League, mate. But 15,000 Arsenal fans went outside the stadium and said, actually, that's not happening. And they said, well, what can we do? We got to, let's be real. The fans got Arsene Wenger sacked. Arsene Wenger's the biggest legend we've seen at the football club managerially in like our generation, unless you're a lot older or whatever. The fans got Arsene Wenger sacked because they voted with their feet. They said, we're not going to take our seat. Kroenke's are there going, yo, there's 10,000 empty seats, and he's took us out the Champions League. We're going to have to operate. Now we're going to have to get rid of him. But the fans don't understand how much power they've got. But the problem is, the fans are, like you said, there's similarities to the Wenger time. They're bumping heads with each other. And the Kroenkes are in America. I watch basketball all the time. I love basketball. Stands at the Denver Nuggets games wearing a cap with Denver Nuggets on the front of it and shaking the player's hand courtside. And I'm like, when's the last time you seen Stan Kroenke at an Arsenal game standing on the side of the pitch, putting in, they don't give a damn. They go, what, you got Champions League? All right, money's in the bank, no problem. Go again next season. So for me, a lot of the Arsenal energy is misdirected. People are getting annoyed. Oh, this fan hasn't got the same opinion as me, or he doesn't rate that player when I rate him, or he doesn't like the manager when I like him. Let's all just sit here and look at it factually. We haven't won a trophy in 5 years. We haven't even been to a cup final since that FA Cup final. And that was during lockdown with no fans. So we didn't even experience that cup final properly, really, because we would have been inside the stadium. Arsenal fans should be sitting here right now going, we're in a mini crisis. Maybe not in terms of the league position, because we are competing again. And obviously that's the positive. But if this season works the way it looks like it's working at the moment, we're gonna stay still and be overtaken. You know, Liverpool, like we said, me and Turkish were saying the other day, if Liverpool win the league, we look like a laughing stock, because people will go, you've gone toe-to-toe with them for 2 years. The third year, they've actually had a drop-off, and you haven't even taken advantage of it. You've allowed the team that was playing Europa League last season in Liverpool to come out of nowhere and go ahead of you when they only spent £12 million in the summer. You know what I mean? On Chiesa, who's injured. So, listen, I know, again, I'm on one today. You're asking me these questions, they got me going, you know, but
that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about, bro. Let me read out to you, by the way. So I wasn't being rude. I was typing some research to make sure I was not being silly here. Me and Turkish come on literally a couple of days ago. Big up to Turkish, right? We were talking about this, man. The Kroenkes, just quickly, right? I look at what they've done previously, and everybody keeps telling me, and big up to Sophie at Hybrid Squad. She's one of these. She likes the Kroenkes. She thinks they've done a good job. She thinks they will do a good job since the total takeover. And she says something really key. Arsenal are next. Now, what she means by that is, obviously, we're going to win something next. That's what she means. That's cool. I want us to win something. That's the idea of elite sport. But let's just look at what they've done before. With the Colorado Rapids, they've won in 2010. That's it. With the Denver Nuggets, they've won in 2023. That's it. In the LA Rams, they've won a Super Bowl in 2022. That's it. So we're next, apparently, Curtis. We're going to win one. What happens after that? I don't want to win one and done. I want to keep going. I want to make sure that we are competitive and we're winning honours year in, year out. It ain't about just win the Premier League and then the project is done. That's it. We're stopped now. Let's do something else. And I get the opinion from the other clubs that they own. That's what they do. They get, oh, yes, we won the Super Bowl now. Brilliant. Now let's just tick over. Oh, we've won this with the Nuggets now. We've won this with the Colorado Rapids. Now it's Arsenal's turn. Once we get this Premier League, they're not even bothered about Premier Leagues, brother. And I'll tell you why. No. The Champions League has been their thing. We have been in this scenario before. And I said this with Turkish, and I'm sorry to the chat to repeat this, but I'll say it with you as well. I have seen this ownership since 2008. In that time, Fabregas and Van Persie never had a striker or a CDM to feed. Then we wind back 5-10 years, and we had Ozil and Sanchez with no striker to feed other than Olivier Giroud. And then when we get our strikers in Aubameyang and Lacazette, we got no centre halves because we're playing David Luiz and bloody Socrates and Mustafi. Yeah. And now we're in a scenario we haven't actually got our number 9 again now, but we've got lovely, pretty pieces around it. I'm kind of looking at the common denominator here. It isn't Arteta. It isn't Gazidis. It isn't Wenger. It's them. It's them, man. And no one's talking about it. Everyone says it's the manager. Everyone says it's the ownership. It's the board. Everyone says it's the players that aren't good enough. What have they done for Arsenal yet? Apart from feeding a hell of a lot of money like the Glazers have, like FSG have, all these other ownerships. But they haven't had any ambition to win. They've just fed in drip feed money and say, do you want that winger? What's his name? Kvaratskhelia or Nico Williams? Or can we just get you Sterling for now? Yeah, I'll just get a Sterling. Well, there you go. Just have Sterling for now. No, man. We need more than just Sterling for now. We don't want Havertz up top as the only option, mate. 5 years in, £700 million deep. What are we going on about it? Yeah. Look, man, I just think we need to be real about this ownership sometimes. And we seem reluctant to be. And I'll tell you this, lastly, bruv. We get to May and there's nothing and we ain't doing that. And they haven't sacked him. I ain't coming for Arteta. I'm coming for them, bruv. But
Bro, like I said... To me, the Kroenkes, Arsenal is a business to them. I think at least with some of those other sports teams in America, they may have some sort of, attachment to the actual sport. So, they got Jokic with the basketball team and things like that. I look at it would possibly not even make them that much money if they won the Premier League, because the amount of bonuses they would have to pay out in people's contracts where wages go up, lump sums of people's wage, it might not even be financially beneficial for them to win the title that much, really, because they would have to spend more money to get there anyway. I think with them, their happy place is top four. Get the top four. Let's be totally honest, right? I went to LA the last couple of years. Their stadium is unbelievable. Like when I say it's like a spaceship, bro. It's crazy. There's palm trees. There's a beach. There's a lake. The stadium. You go to the Emirates. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't know what you think. I actually don't think the Emirates is that nice a stadium. I'll be real. Even the surrounding area. Nah, maybe when it was first built because we were ahead of the.
It's looking worn and tired now, isn't it?
It looks tired, man. They've put some paintings on the outside to try and uplift it, but there's no real. Anyone who's ever been
one
to
of
the
them
Emirates,
Kroenke, by the way.
Yeah, I know. And Win the Dog as well. They got Win the Dog and Josh Kroenke painted outside the stadium. I said, I don't know what's going on here. So you can tell, man, Arsenal is the side piece, man. He pops up Listen, when you're in America on tour, I'll come and have a look. I'll shake hands, wave at people, and then I'm off about my business. Arsenal is the side piece. He wants to make money out of it. And the reality is, he's not under pressure to do anything different, which is what I always say. As long as he can get away with doing what he's doing, Stan, as the silent owner, he will continue to do it. The only time they react is when there's a problem. When Wenger out was happening, the Kroenkes turned up at games because they were here. They needed to see. They was having meetings. That there were problems. They don't need to do anything. The stadium's sold out every week. The merch flies off the shelf. Top fours happened the last 2 seasons. You would probably imagine it happens this season. The manager will take all the flack, which is what he's being paid for. You have 15 million a season, but you're the human shield for the Kroenkes. Anything aimed at them, you block it. The sporting director, he will probably have a big say in who gets hired. And it's very reminiscent of the late Wenger days. When people say, what's going on? It's like he runs the club and, this, that, the other. So this is always my worry with the situation is we got in a situation over the last 2 years where it's like the title's there to be won. You can go and get it, but you've got to make them signings to get us over the finish line. And it just doesn't feel like those signings have happened. And I just don't believe that they have the same level of care for Arsenal as they do for a lot of their other sporting entities. He's building a new railway in LA, I believe, to make the ground more accessible because traffic's so heavy in LA. So he's going, there's your great team, there's your Super Bowl, there's your unbelievable stadium, your training ground, there's your access to the ground. We've got paintings of a dog outside the stadium. Why are we really getting we're getting the crumbs off the plate? I'm walking to the Emirates. I'm seeing Josh Kroenke painting and Win the Dog. They're getting a train to get straight to the stadium. They've got a beach outside the stadium. All we've got is a few puddles and a picture of a dog. I said, nah, man, this guy don't care, man. He don't care.
We shouldn't laugh because it's our club,
It's
but
crazy.
what else can you do, man, apart from just laugh at it? Because if you didn't laugh, you'd cry, bro. It's
You have
absolutely
to, bro. You've got to have a
embarrassing.
personality and a sense of humor to support Arsenal because they'll drive you crazy, man. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Brother, it's insane. And I don't know how they get away with it, but some people seem to think they're great owners, but we'll see. Listen, let's come to last couple of questions before we do come to a close. I'm gonna chuck some names at you because obviously we're being linked with them. I don't really understand this one. This is one that's come out and has done 13th, so come out a couple of days ago and has been kind of hanging around. We've got Delaney suggesting that Arsenal are monitoring the situation of Zubimendi. There's a belief they can prove that the player's most viable destination is Arsenal in the summer. Arteta wants to add a number 6, which I'll come back to in a minute, to his team to ensure they have maximum tactical options. And there's also suggestions that there are repeated appeals from Sociedad, but Zubimendi opted to stay for another season, but is nevertheless believed he has one condition, that he would be allowed to leave for the right offer in the future. And Arsenal feel they may now present that to them. Look, I've got to be real with you, bro. I like the player. I think Zubimendi is a very good player. But we've already got Jorginho, Partey and Rice that are 6s. Surely we need an 8 now, right?
Do you know what? You wonder sometimes, like, did Arteta ring Edu and say, like, yo, go to Sociedad and get me that Spanish midfielder? He's come back with the wrong one. He's San Marino instead of Zubimendi. That's why he's quit. He's gone, oh, damn, I signed the wrong player. Zubimendi, bro, how many 6s do we need, man? We'll probably sign a left back, a goalkeeper, and a number 6. Like, Zubimendi, listen, I think Zubimendi's a good player. Obviously, Liverpool nearly got him. I think Man City are being linked with him as well as like a Rodri, somebody to come in while he's out. But I don't really get that. Yeah, maybe in the summer because I suppose Jorginho you would expect to be released. And Partey's
Nando's saying Partey as well. Partey and Jorginho, they might be leaving this summer, and then it would make sense. But it just doesn't fill you with any kind of plan or forward think, does it? That like we're now looking at another 6 again. Like, how long is this going to take to build this team then? Because I mean, we're now buying players that were part of a process. Clearly, the process, I agree, has come to the end. But was the process to have Jorginho and Partey there? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing in this midfield. For me, Declan Rice is a 6. I don't know about you. I don't think he's an 8. In fact, I think he's just average there. I don't see Declan Rice as a Fabregas, Gerrard, David Silva, Lampard type player. He's clearly a Rodri or a Carrick of old or one of those guys for me. And I think we need an 8 to complement Rice. Ødegaard's fine. I'm cool with him. But if we had Rice, De Jong and Ødegaard, or Rice, Bruno Guimaraes and Ødegaard, I'd be cool with that. But the buying Zubimendi and then playing Rice in the 8 and having Ødegaard, it doesn't make sense to me, bruv.
I think he's got this obsession now, Arteta, that Rice, it's like he doesn't trust him in the 6 on the ball. I think he wants somebody who's more progressive to receive the ball, which again makes you wonder then, why spend £105 million on a 6 that you don't think is good enough on the ball? That's
crazy.
Wild. And I always say at the end of the day, like, at what point does your manager actually coach a player and improve him? If Rice isn't good enough on the ball, can you not improve him on the ball? The guy played for David Moyes, who played direct football up to Mikel Antonio. I'm not surprised that Rice isn't great on the ball. So could you not play him in the 6 and improve him on the ball and coach him? If you don't think he's good enough on the ball, why did you buy him for £100 million? Buy a number 6 that's good on the ball. So it's just Arsenal, innit? Everything Arsenal do, it's like contradicts itself. So Zubimendi, listen, if Jorginho and Partey go, I suppose they would need to get another 6 because you can't just have Rice. But Zubimendi, I mean, he's got a release clause as well. So
50 million.
They could go for him in January because Sociedad are having a bad season. So there's talk that they're saying he regrets not going to Liverpool now and wishes he'd left. So I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool went back in for him. But I don't think, maybe in the summer we'll go for him. I don't think now.
No, I think City might go for him because they need a Rodri replacement, and that's a clear one for me. £50 million release clause. I mean, unless he really has his
Yeah.
heart set on Liverpool, I'll be stunned if they don't come in for him. Look, the other player that gets mentioned, it seems every single summer. Actually, the next two I'm going to talk to you about are one of them's Alexander Isak. There's rumours that he's been talked about as being our number one striker target. I know there's talk of Gyökeres that people want in January, and I'm on that boat. I think he'd be phenomenal for Arsenal, if I'm honest. But I would want Isak as my number one if there's everybody that is. If everyone's fit, I think he's the one that I think suits Arsenal phenomenally. That's a summer move. So my question to you is, do you think that could happen? And do you think Newcastle would let him go in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, just quickly on this, so I think he's a fantastic player, and I think he does suit the way we play. Like when we play normally, I mean, not 46 crosses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But although he scored a good header against us, so maybe that would work for him. I think Newcastle have a problem there. I don't think he wants to sign a new contract because, you know, when he went there, they were getting Champions League, and all of a sudden they're not even in Europe. But when I read it, I don't know if this is true. I think he's contracted until 2028. So even in the summer, he's got 3 years left. I don't think Newcastle are going to be in any real pressure to let him go. Yeah, like you got the richest owners in the world. He's got 3 years left. How are you getting him out of there unless... I mean, what I read, I don't know how true it is. They were saying Newcastle want at least £100 million for him to even think about it. I think he's a fantastic player who would suit us. His injury records concern me a little bit. He's had a few muscular injuries since being in the Premier League, which makes you think, does he struggle with the intensity of the league? You bring him to Arsenal, then you're going to have more games in the Cup as well. So I think he's ideally suited to us. But the other thing about this link that bothers me is, again, and this is the pessimist in me as an Arsenal fan, is being linked with Isak in the summer makes me think we're not going to go for Gyökeres in January because they're not going to buy 2 strikers for that much money. So again, that just makes me think they're not going to buy a striker until the summer when they go for him. And I've said this, me and you, we've joked about it many times. I said, look, expectation Gyökeres or Isak, reality Benjamin Sesko in the summer. And I can see it happening. They'll go back for Sesko and offer about 50 million for him.
I mean, this is the guy, by the way, whose team lost 3-1 to Celtic and he didn't get a kick, this Sesko geezer. I mean, I don't like this guy. I don't like the links with this guy. I think that is no upgrade on Havertz whatsoever. And, you know, like Chris Hudson made a good point. Big him up. He was on last week with me and he said, I shouldn't laugh because this is actually really bad, but he said, Arsenal actually wanted to buy another goalkeeper, not another striker. We wanted that Espanol guy. It's just like, what is happening here?
They must sit down and go, listen, lads, we are desperate for a striker. I tell you what, man, I know this goalkeeper in Spain. He'll fit right in on our bench. And while we're there, we get another left back. You even said it on one of the other shows. And I was talking about, I said, bro, we've got about 5 left backs and we genuinely might need a left back in the summer.
I don't know another club that's had this many left backs and goalkeepers and we still might need one. Like Raya's now settled, but I had question marks over him last year. We've got how many left backs have we actually had? And we're still not sure what one is our best one. I mean, everyone tells me it's Timber, some say it's Calafiori, some still miss Zinchenko's inverting on the ball. I'm like, let's just go and get one that we actually do like. You know, me and Kenny Ken are back and forth about what Rice is. I think he's a 6. He thinks he's an 8. Like, we shouldn't be talking like this. We should know what our best 11 is now. And I hope that that's what starts to happen now, to be honest. Look, the last player I wanted to throw your way was Mohamed Kudus. There's a lot of reports that the release clause of 85 million comes into activation in the summer. I have problems with Kudus for one reason. He only plays on the right. He can play 10, but he don't really do that well on the left. And a lot of West Ham fans I speak to are like, hopefully you buy him and play him on the left because he's rubbish. And that's what we want, is a left winger. So I'd rather go for Kvaratskhelia or maybe Nico Williams ahead of Kudus. A lot of people don't like that because Kudus for me is a backup for Saka. He ain't starting on the right. What do you make of this? Do you think this would be a good signing? Or
we missed out on Kudus because the year when we got Raya, the story came out that we could have signed him. I think at the time he rejected Brighton, if I remember the story. Brighton agreed a fee with Ajax. He rejected it, and the story was that he was waiting right till the end of the window to see if Arsenal could get the money. Arsenal couldn't get the money, which is why we couldn't buy David Raya on a permanent. But obviously Brentford worked with us and did the loan. So it's very difficult for me to think a guy that we could have bought for 35 million, a year and a half ago, we're now going to pay 85 million pound for. That deal isn't happening. Not at that price. And it shouldn't happen. I've got to be honest, because like you said, we need a right winger to back up Saka. We need a left winger to start in the first 11. So you don't spend 85 million on a guy that's going to back up Saka. You need to spend that money on the guy that starts on the left, whether that's, Kvara or Leao or Nico Williams. So Kudus for me doesn't happen. And I think, getting the red card and things like that, you know what Arsenal are like with PR. They won't like that. I know he was at the Champions League game, wasn't he? Was it the Shakhtar game?
Yeah.
He was sitting in the stadium. And he's obviously friends with Thomas Partey, but yeah, I don't see it happening. I don't think he's worth 85 million, to be honest. And if he can't play on the left, why are you buying a guy that's probably... Arsenal will probably do it because it makes no sense. So we'll probably do it.
Yeah, I know it makes no sense. That'll probably happen. That's normally what it is. That's why in January we'll probably find we're going to buy Yoral Harto from Ajax or something like that.
Hey, listen, we'll be in Chelsea's recycling bin, bruv. We'll probably sign Mudryk or someone. Get Mudryk on loan.
Well, imagine if we get this Mudryk, brother, man. Oh my word, honestly, that is just a madness. That was all that rumor stuff. Now I look back and I think, wow, what is all that about? Look, my last question for you guys before we come to a close is obviously the injury to Ben White. Looks like he could be out for anything up to 12 weeks, which is mad. I heard it was 6 and then it went up to 8. Now it's gone up to 10. Now even 12 it could be. It's like, what is this all about? My question, I mean, me and Tom were having a bit of a back and forth on Twitter about this. I put a tweet out saying this is stupid timing. Because if this guy's been having a knock for 12 to 18 months, why didn't we do this in the summer when he didn't have a Euros and he could have been fit for maybe the Man City game onwards? Some people are saying, and Tom's come back and said, look, we couldn't do that because we had nobody else fit around him and he had to play those games. But I just find it bizarre that we've put ourselves in this bad timing and bad transfer negotiating again to say that with injury-prone players surrounding our defence, because that's what they all are, Timber, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, now Calafiori, can be added to that as well. Kieran Tierney, people forget about, is still here. Really, we're only relying on Kivior and Gabriel, Saliba, and Timber as our only ones right now. Now Ben White's out because the others you just don't know. You can't rely upon them. They're always going to be injured. So look, he's got 2 options really. He can play Timber and Calafiori with Tomiyasu as backup, or he can put Partey at right back again, which I don't particularly like. How do you think we're going to cope without Ben White for these next sort of couple of months? So it's probably going to be about... I've ruled him out till January, February now, if I'm honest, Ben White.
Yeah, no, I thought the timing was stupid because if they'd have done it let's just say, for example, if they'd have done it in September, there was an international break in September, October, and November. So in reality, you would have had 2 weeks in each month where there would have been no Arsenal game. So that's recovery time without missing games. Everybody knows the busiest period of the Premier League is Christmas. You play the most games over that period. So we've now threw him in. I get it. They've done it because Tomiyasu, they're saying, will be back, and Calafiori. So they obviously feel they can get through it. But why not do it at a time where you had international break so he would have missed less games? So I always say if it makes sense, Arsenal won't do it. That's kind of where we're at. So it's a big loss. I think you can see he's been carrying an injury. Hasn't looked the same player. Certainly not getting forward as much and linking up with Saka on that right-hand side. I think you'll probably see Timber at right back, Calafiori going at left back, which I am quite excited to see Timber with Saka on that right-hand side. Calafiori, I'm not so convinced by him at full-back, to be honest. I think he probably is a centre-back. So it'd be interesting how he does, and we got a lot of football. So Tomiyasu will be the backup, and it's a difficult one. Listen, it's like you said, 1 minute it was 6 weeks, he'll be back at Christmas. Then they're saying late January, could even be mid-February. So I do not want to see Partey at right back, but I'm wondering if Arteta might use it as a reason to get Mourinho in the team, because I think Arteta wants Mourinho in the team. He's paid 35 million for him. You know, he doesn't want him sitting on the bench. I wonder if he uses it as an excuse to kind of throw Partey at right back and play Mourinho next to Rice with Odegaard.
That's what I think he'll do. I honestly think that's what he'll do.
Yeah.
Because for me, Timber and Calafiori is fine there, but Partey, Rice, and Odegaard, I don't know that he wants that. I think he wants Mourinho in the 8. I think that's honestly what he wants, and that means Rice comes out the 8, and he's definitely going to be ahead of Partey in the 6, which is a bit harsh on Partey because let's be honest, he's been our best 6 this season, you know, and we're putting him at right back. So it is just all a bit of a mess, to be honest with you. I mean, Calafiori, I'm still not sure about him either position-wise. I think on the ball he's comfortable. He looks like he can get back and defend. He's a good tackler. And on the ball I like him, but position-wise, his positioning at times, I'm like, what? Where are you going, bruv? Like, you know, it looks like you're going to get caught. And, you know, Savinho absolutely skinned him at the Etihad for most of that half. So look, I think we've got kind of to see this 11 fit. We haven't been able to yet, you know. And I think his 11 when everybody's fit. I mean, you know, our back line I think is, if I'm honest, Timber and Calafiori at fullbacks with Gabriel and Saliba with Rare in goal. I do think it's potentially Rice, Mourinho, Odegaard, and then Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli. I think that's what his best 11 is, and maybe we're going to see that after the international break, and we'll see how some of these subs impact the game, like the likes of Ethan, Trossard, Jesus. We've got Sterling. Obviously, we've got Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, as well as Kivior that can all come into the mix then, and Thomas Partey and Jorginho. But if I'm honest with you, at the moment, it's just been a bit of a mess. I haven't seen a style with the players that he has put together, and maybe it is because we haven't seen everybody fit yet. But you know, after these internationals, I hope that we can come back and believe that we've got our kind of squad to pick from. But it doesn't really fill me with a lot of confidence, man. Look, I wanted to ask you about Sterling, bruv, as well, because I just don't really get this player at all. And I didn't want him. I know you didn't want him. But when I'm looking at Gabby Jesus and Sterling coming on, they honestly look so far off it, bruv. It's scary.
It's something that, do you know what? I think over the years, Arteta struggled to manage the squad. I kind of feel with Arteta, it's like he gets into a situation where it's like 12 or 13 players are in his thoughts and the rest of you just kind of pushed aside. You look at the way Smith Rowe got treated, and then you look at what he's doing at Fulham. Now, I'm not saying he should still be at Arsenal, but what I'm saying is when he was here, why did we not use him more? Sterling, it's very hard to talk about Sterling because he's played so little football. It's not like he's played 8 games and I go, I've watched him, he's rubbish. He hardly plays for us. The last 3 games he hasn't played. Obviously, he couldn't play against Chelsea. The 2 before, he didn't even come off the bench. I think what we can see is that he certainly isn't the player that we saw 3 or 4 years ago at Manchester City. And now these stories are coming out that he's not training well and things like that. And Jesus, I mean, the drop-off in these players always makes me point back to the manager. And I know a lot of people don't like that again, but if it happens once or twice, I think you can go, that player's just fell off. But this has happened so many times under this manager when it comes to attacking players. Like the season he walked in the door, Aubameyang was the Golden Boot winner in the Premier League. Within 18 months of Arteta, this guy, the hairline was going. He was playing left wing back. He looked like he couldn't score a goal. Lacazette, he was running around in defensive midfield. He'd won Player of the Season under Emery. Then you bring in Willian on the back of his best season at Chelsea in terms of numbers. By the time he left Arsenal, his belly was hanging out the shirt. His belly was hanging out the yellow shirt, bro. I couldn't believe it. And yet then he went to Fulham a year later, looked revitalised again. Got away from Arteta, perhaps. You've got Martinelli in the Brazil squad. Klopp saying generational talent, 15-goal season. We all love Martinelli. Most people at the Arsenal family, a lot of our favourite players. All of a sudden, this guy looks like a speedboat with no steering wheel, like he's got no brain. He's just running around like a headless chicken. Trossard has got progressively worse. You know what I mean? Under this manager, let's be real. And Jesus, when we signed Jesus, I was quite excited. I thought, you know what? Never really started every week at Man City, so maybe he can be a prolific goal scorer. When he comes on the pitch now, I almost put my head down, Dan, like, oh, God, we're bringing him on. What's he going to do? He ain't going to pass to no one because he's desperate to
His
score.
cameo was a shambles against Chelsea, by the way. Jesus. Oh, so bad.
Terrible. He's terrible. He's completely fell off for us. And then Sterling, I'm looking at Sterling like, you PR'd the hell out of that signing. Like, the PR was elite when they signed him. When I saw that video of Sterling signing for us, I actually started like, I was like, oh my God, maybe this is going to be a good signing. Man lifted his head up, said, you ain't seen the best of me. Arteta was great with him at Man City. I said, Raheem's back. The Jamaica tax was going mad, bro. I was going to buy that Jamaica tracksuit top and everything. I couldn't believe it. I ordered jerk chicken there and then. I said, no, this is wild. Watching this guy play for Arsenal, it's like watching Sanka from Cool Runnings, bro. He should be in the bobsleigh. Like, what the hell? Raheem the Dream. This is a nightmare. They should send him back to Chelsea in January and just say, don't worry about it. It's like buying a jacket in a shop, losing the receipt, taking it back and saying, just take it. I don't even want my money back. Just have it. I don't want it. It's a joke. It's crazy. So the bench is, I don't think there's anybody on the bench that when we're bringing them on, I'm going, he's going to change the game. In fact, the only player I look at and think might change the game is Ethan Nwaneri, and he's the guy that we don't bring on the pitch. So, hey, big up Turkish, man. Big up Turkish,
man. Those last, are in agreement. It's clear. But yeah, man, listen.
The bench, bro, the bench. I always say the Arsenal bench is like that bench when you walk through like a field or a park. You know that dirty park bench where the wood's like coming off it. There's bird poo on it. The homeless guys probably slept on it. That's Arsenal's bench. Imagine looking at that bench and going, who's going to win me this game today? I've got Jesus. I've got Jesus, you know what I mean? He looks like he's skating on the pitch. You've got Trossard with bags under his eyes. You got Nwaneri who we don't trust. You got Raheem the Dream Sterling, Sanka out of Cool Runnings. And you got Norbert Neto, the goalkeeper that we signed to play in the Carabao Cup, but he's cup tied. And Edu's done a run-off. Edu's at Forest, tripling his wages. But apart from that, people, I'm telling you, big season ahead.
Oh man, I don't want to close on that, but we're gonna have to, man. Listen, it's a hard one to be put through at the moment, bro. It is not good watching us, but look, man, we're just the negative ones. We're just the ones that moan all the time. So we try and say it how it is, but we just moan. Look, man, it's not looking good. I hope that we can get after this international break a run of games because we've got fixtures that on paper look a little bit easier, although there's never an easy game. I was on my troops yesterday and we actually said, I actually think we might drop in our first two, bro. And I'm talking Forest and Sporting. I actually do think we might drop against Forest and Sporting. I just don't have faith in us going away from home. And then we've got Forest, who, by the way, are absolutely on fire. Their centre-back partnership is looking sick, mate. That Murillo and Milenkovic. And then up top, you got Chris Wood firing, Morgan Gibbs-White balling out, getting England call-ups, Elanga and Hudson-Odoi with unbelievable pace and power. Yeah. I don't know, man. And then we've got Sporting after that. We've got like a bit of a run of games. Fulham, I think, could be a tricky one at Craven Cottage. Manchester United under Ruben Amorim. So, it is supposed to be easier on paper, and I still feel we can win those games. But I look at it right now and think, yeah, we can win, but I'm not confident at the moment at going into any games as an Arsenal fan. I'm not. And I don't know what your thoughts are on our run quickly before we close when we come back, bruv.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at it now. Listen, Forest and West Ham are the first two games back there. That's got to be 6 points. It has to be. Like, I know, listen, Forest are playing well. I keep an eye on them, hometown club. They just lost to Newcastle. You've got to beat them. You have to beat them. It will be a tough game because they will have a go at us. Nuno, he's doing a fantastic job there at the moment.
Yeah, he is.
Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, like you said, Chris Wood, Gibbs White, 2 centre-back. Murillo's being linked with Barcelona. Like he's in the Brazil squad as well. You've got to go to West Ham and beat them. They're shocking at the moment, but it will be a tricky game because they're fighting. Sporting Lisbon, I mean, that's just going to be the only positive I hope we take out of Sporting Lisbon. I hope they leave that stadium saying we've got to buy Gyökeres. Like, I hope we beat them like 4-3, but he scores a hat trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so when they leave, they're like, oh my God, we've got to buy him. Like, but yeah, and then I think, after Forest and West Ham, we got Man United midweek. Do you know the crazy thing about our fixtures coming back? I'm looking, we've got a game every midweek for 4 weeks up until Christmas, which again is why the Ben White operation doesn't make sense. They should have done it when the fixture list was a lot quieter. We've got so many games. So
we don't leave London, do we? We don't leave London until like late Jan or something, other than the European games. In the league, we've got I think our away games are West Ham, Brentford, Fulham, and Palace.
Yeah.
So I think, we get to like mid-January and in the Premier League, we ain't left London. There's no excuses here, man. We're going to basically go from now until January with trips to Spain and Portugal, and that's it. Like, we've got to be winning these games, man. There's no more excuses. We've no more red cards, no more injuries. Everyone's back, no more suspensions. Ben White's the only one out now. Like, everybody's back. Tomiyasu and Calafiori, they think, are as well. Saka and Rice, we're waiting to hear, but I think they'll be fine, which is why they haven't travelled to England. Erdegaard's going to get himself back now that he ain't travelled as well. As long as the people that have gone away, which I think is only about 7 or 8 players, and half of them aren't playing. Saliba didn't play last night. Martinelli's gone now because someone got injured, but he doesn't start for Brazil. Gabriel might start, but let's hope he'll be okay. Other than that, I think it's only Kai Havertz and I think Thomas Partey. I think most of the others are staying put. So you look at it like that, you've got no excuses not to get ourselves back to full fitness and go on this run. And if he takes the shackles off, I've got a bit more confidence in it because the team have been there and done it before playing that style. But I start seeing this style of football when everyone's fit, Curtis, I'm going to start losing it, bro. Real talk. I'm going to be on. I'll be on your show next time.
Do you know the thing, Daniel? When you look at the next few games, the only way Arsenal do anything is they've got to go on a run right now. Like we've got to win like 5 or 6 games in a row because just looking quickly, I looked at some of the other fixtures. I mean, Man City have got Tottenham at home, Liverpool away, Palace away, and Man United at home, and Forest at home, with some Champions League games around it. And then Liverpool have got Man City at home, Everton away, Newcastle away. And they've got Real Madrid sandwiched in between. So it's not that I don't think when I've been saying on shows, listen, the title race, we could be out of it. It's not because I don't think these other teams will drop points, because I think they will. It's whether we can go on a run.
It's us, isn't it?
It's us, yeah, it's us.
And that's where I'm at. I look at the performances of our play right now, and I don't care that Liverpool are 9 points ahead of us and City are 5. It doesn't matter. They could be 2 or 12 right now. We ain't playing well enough to catch 12 or worry about being only 2 behind. That's my point. We ain't playing well enough. And people start talking about Tottenham, United and Chelsea like creeping up behind us. I really don't care about that. I just care about us winning games. And people say, Judges spoke to me on the channel the other day saying, we've got now until the next 10 games where we finish on the North London derby. We've got to win them all. I'm not thinking like that. I just want to beat Forest next, because let's just take one at a time. We're not playing well enough to worry about a 10-game run. We've got to go back to basics at the moment, take the shackles off, and then make sure that we get these wins across the line. That's the way I see it, man. But look, let's get the super chats in before we close. This one comes in from Aditya. The Gunnar says, Klopp was challenged. Salah was bought in without his agreement. What a bad signing it turned out to be. Yeah, sometimes you can go against the manager and have an absolute flyer. So if we get a player like Salah, wow. AZ, thank you so much for the super chat, my bro. Absolute legend for a super sticker. You got Arteta out, Edu out, KSC out. Wow, he's not happy, is he? Says Arteta assigned Sociedad's third best midfielder. I did speak actually to Lee Gunner, and he says he reckons that is the truth. I don't know the name of the other one, but Zubimendi was the best. The other lad was second best. This guy was the third best.
Honestly, I reckon Arteta's gone, listen, mate, I want you to get me Neto and get me that Spanish midfielder. He wanted Zubimendi and Pedro Neto. He's come back with Marino and Norbert Neto. I'm telling you. That's why he's quit, bro. He signed the wrong players.
Oh, my word. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? We got Kyle Walsh-Gunner, who's also not very happy. He says, gentlemen, there is no run. It's done. And he wants Arteta out. There's quite a few like this now, Curtis, actually. I'm seeing in the chat, there's a lot of people saying they want Arteta out. They're glad their dude's gone and all this. So it ain't just a few people now. It's starting to get more. Real McCoy says, Curtis, be blood clot. Careful. You move like you want this Jamaica when you address Sterling. Don't plug out. Link that boy to us. He's British. not a fan, it seems.
Do you know when I just saw that super chat? I thought this is going to be interesting when Dan starts speaking.
Yeah, it's not my genre. That's for sure, man. I'm clearly not a Jamaican. You could probably read that out a hell of a lot better than I can.
No, I thought you did pretty well, mate. One bad.
Did I? Okay, you take that. I'll take that, brother. I'll take that. Yeah, Sterling, don't get me started. I'm going to start calling him Sanka from Cool Runnings now as well. What a film, by the way. What a film. Honestly.
Great film.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. It's mad. And do you know what? I was actually rolling back the years the other day, flipping through the TV set, and I don't get much time to sit and just relax and watch TV now. It's not something I do. I'm normally more of a music or podcast. I did it the other day for the first time, and I was flicking through the channels. I was listening to DMX in the background, and I see Cool Runnings come on, and I thought, this is taking me back to like 90s when I was growing up, listening to DMX, watching Cool Runnings. I was like, wow, this is class. So yeah, man, what a program, what a show that is. Listen, man, absolute pleasure to have you on as always, man. It's been a great chat. It's not normally this long that we talk, but there's been a lot to talk about, mate. So I thought we might as well keep it flowing. Man saying I missed a super chat. Have I missed a super chat? Sure, I haven't missed one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've only got 5 here, and I think I've read them all out. Big up to you, Curtis. What you got coming on, man? How can people follow you, bro?
Curtis Shaw TV. I got a video coming out today. I'm not streaming. I've done a pre-record. Got a couple coming out over the weekend. Probably Monday we'll get back to it properly as we, build up to next week. So just be pre-recorded over the weekend, and then, I'm trying. Do you know what? I'm trying to switch off from Arsenal over the weekend before next weekend when it all just comes back, and it's all a bit stressful. So I'm gonna relax this weekend. But no, listen, well done to you. 27k. Hopefully you get to 30k quickly. You're putting in the work as well, so it's only right that you get these results. So big up to you. Get the likes up as well. Get the likes up, people. And hopefully I get you on my channel next week. So we're sort of rotating each week.
Definitely.
So it's working well.
No, it is working well, man. And 100% I'll be on there next week, people. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Make sure you go and do the same thing for Curtis as well. Stay tuned. I'm going to redirect you to Troops. Go raid his chat. He's on now with Flawless, Monts, and the man them talking about his Back Again podcast, I think it is. So make sure that we get some people over there showing the love. Go say Dan Potts and Curtis raid. Go say Dan Potts or 12th Man raid or 12th Man sent me, whatever you want to go do. Go show Troops some love. And make sure you big up to Curtis as well. Make sure you go show Manscaped some love as well. Click on the pinned comment now. That will take you through to their website where you'll get 20% off using that link. FTM20 is the code that you need. And we'll see you next time, people. We're out of here. Go show Troops some love. Big up.